Everybody, it's Emily. Welcome back to my homestead. Today I thought I'd do a quick little garden tour, and then we need to harvest the garlic today. So that's going to be exciting to see what's growing underground. I'm hoping that they're going to be pretty big this year. We'll start with the strawberries. Over here we've got, this row is the ones I transplanted from Indiana, and these are the ones I bought bare root. And they've both produced quite a few strawberries, just, 5 or 6 a day, fresh eating. Sometimes we were picking every other day and getting not quite half a pint. But the June-bearing strawberries, the ones that I planted last fall, those are pretty much done. The ever-bearing ones that I planted bare root this spring, they act like they're not doing anything right now. There's one flower on this plant over here, so I'm hoping that means that the rest of them will go through and start producing more flowers, because I thought they were supposed to keep producing all summer long. I thought that's what everbearing meant. We will find out. It is July 1st, so it makes sense that the June-bearing strawberries are finished. And of course the asparagus has been done for a while, but I just love all these pretty fronds, and of course when they die back, I'll mow them over and mulch really heavily. We have a new addition. It's not really garden related, but we put in this fence here. It's very just thrown together with what we had. And then again over there by that shed, we put a fence between the shed and the barn, because the chickens got attacked while they were free ranging in the middle of the day. It was a few weeks ago, and it was about between 12 and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We came out about 1 o'clock to find that 5 chickens were missing. One was in the nesting box with an injured back, like lots of feathers ripped out. And we put her in a crate by herself and treated her, but she ended up dying after a few days. Later that day, another chicken reappeared with just some feathers missing from her neck, no blood or anything, and she's doing fine. We found 2 bodies, and then there were 2 that we just never found. There was a trail of feathers through the woods for one of them, but the other one there was no sign of which way it was taken. And we think perhaps it was a fox based on the time of day and the number of chickens, and just there was somebody down the road a few miles who also had a fox attack, and they actually saw the fox. So we're thinking that maybe that was it. But kind of afraid to let them free range anymore. I thought they'd be safe during the daytime, and we just have to worry about things like hawks or neighbors' dogs during the daytime, and that nighttime would be when we needed to worry about the chickens getting attacked. But apparently 12 o'clock in the afternoon is a perfectly dangerous time for chickens. So now they've got a jerry-rigged fence, and hopefully they're going to be safe. So back to the garden tour. These are the first potatoes that I planted. There's one plant that died right here. It actually froze the tops of some of the plants, and that one was so small that it just never recovered, like right after we planted these. And some of them look like they're starting to die back on this end over here. They're getting some yellow and brown, and I don't know if that's them getting ready to be picked soon or they're getting some kind of disease. But I think they're going to be ready fairly soon. The garlic is ready, Some of it's probably past ready, but it rained quite heavily and I wanted the soil to dry out a bit. Some of them don't look like they're quite ready. Like these look like they're definitely ready. And then some of these here, this one's still like pretty much all green. So I think we'll leave some of those that look like they're still mostly green. The onions, I mean, they're growing, but they've got like yellow tips and some of their leaves are dying, it looks like. Not all of them, so I'm not sure what's going on with the onions. They definitely got a ways to go, but hopefully they'll make it. We're on the next row. We have our sugar snap peas. We have kind of stopped picking them like this. One of the kids and I will eat them when they're nice and thin like this as a snack, but we weren't really keeping up with eating them fast enough. And so we let a lot of them get really thick and plump, plumper than this, and we shelled all the peas out of them and blanched and then froze them. We got about 4 cups of peas, which was pretty awesome. And so hopefully we'll get another round like that. We've got the carrots here, and they need to be thinned again for sure. We already thinned them. And I think that maybe they're just growing back. Not really sure, but there's definitely too thick of carrots growing in there. There's one carrot back here that kind of got washed away and is growing all by itself. So that one does not have any competition. And that goes all the way down this row with the peas. They're not climbing the trellis super great. We had the trellis up too high, and then we finally lowered it so that they could reach it, but we did finally get them in most places to start climbing again, or for the first time, I guess. And then we've got the jade green beans here. I did come back and sow in the gaps a second round because they weren't really doing that great, and they're still not doing that great. They're off to a very slow start. Like here's one that was the first time I planted them, and it's about to get some flowers, so that's exciting. And here's some peas that decided not to climb. I don't know if I can get it tucked in there or not. I think I need to come out with something to tie it on there. And then, so the jade green beans are planted all the way down to the end. And then on the next row, we have the next round of potatoes. Some of these have flowered, and I've just been picking the flowers off so that it can focus on developing the tubers. Got some milkweed coming up in the potatoes. So it's probably fine. I don't think the roots are going to affect the potatoes. And we have kohlrabi. My brassicas in general are doing surprisingly well. I didn't think anything was going to survive. They were so teeny tiny. And, you know, some like, I've got, I don't know, 6 maybe kohlrabi plants right here. 2 of them are doing really well. 1 purple and 1 white are doing really nicely. And the rest of them are still, you know, small. But I'm very impressed with those 2 kohlrabi. And then here we've got some cauliflower. They are not doing so great. That's okay. Here you can't really see them very well. There's pepper plants that I planted. That one's still alive. This one is barely hanging on. It's probably gonna die. But there's another one. So there's little bitty California wonder bell pepper plants all along here. These are the ones I bought from my son's fundraiser at school. Another bell pepper. And The newer growth looks nice and green, which is wonderful. They were looking a little yellow when I planted them, but the newer stuff looks really healthy. The next row is more brassicas. Again, the cauliflower here, they are not looking so great, but this broccoli looks okay. Only 3 broccoli plants survived out of what I planted. I started like 4 or 5 different kinds. By the time I planted them, I think I was down to 2 or 3 kinds, and now there's just 1 kind left. I think it's the hybrid variety, Sun King hybrid, I think. Oh no, this one's a Sun King, and then this one is a Deciso. These 2 are Deciso. I've also got some pepper plants interspersed here that may or may not do well. I mean, they're still so tiny, but it's still alive, so that's encouraging. Next, we've got the cabbage, and the cabbage is doing awesome as well. This right here is Golden Acre. Yep, Golden Acre cabbage, and it's actually starting to form a little head. So I might actually get cabbage for the first time in my entire life. I've only grown cabbage, like, this is the 3rd time, but I think I might actually get cabbage. This is some early Wakefield, these 2 plants here. And then these are Mammoth Red Rock. And they're so pretty. They're a lot smaller, but man, even if they don't give me anything, they're so beautiful to look at. I love purple. This part needs heavily weeded. You can see I was weeding down there, and I was weeding at the end down there, and then this middle part is still a mess. Got some more cabbage here. I think this is Copenhagen. And this looking all right. And then my kale looks beautiful. Again, more purple. Love purple. This is, what is this? Red Russian kale, I think. And then we've got the Dino kale and Premier kale, also looking wonderful. I have been weeding in this section, but as you can see, I left something behind. This is purslane. It's actually edible, and you can tell that it's purslane because when you pick it, it doesn't have a milky white substance come out of it. Like, you know, you pick a dandelion, it's got that milky white stuff out of the stem. That'll happen with the milkweed too, actually. But, so this is actually purslane. I'm leaving it as a ground cover to help combat other weeds. I don't think we'll end up eating any of it. We might, just to try it out, but we'll see. And here I've got some pepper plants I just bought the other day at a local place. They were on clearance, and I thought, why not? I've got some more space because most of the Brussels sprouts died. I've got 1 Brussels sprout, 2 Brussels sprouts, 3 teeny tiny little Brussels sprouts, and I don't know that we're going to get anything for the Brussels sprouts. However, in past experience of growing Brussels sprouts, which was one time, I got some plant starts from one of my clients on my birthday, actually, and so I planted them. The middle of June is not the time to probably plant brassicas, but she had given me Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and it might have been cabbage. I'm not sure what the 3rd one was, but there's 3 different kinds of brassicas. And one of the plants, I got the starts mixed up, and I thought the broccoli was a Brussels sprout and the Brussels sprouts were broccoli. obviously they didn't produce anything to tell me that I was wrong until the second year. Like, they got covered in, a huge snowstorm. They were covered in snow a lot of the winter. And then the next spring, they were still green and alive, and they started producing tiny little Brussels sprouts. They never got bigger than like an eraser head. But, I grew Brussels sprouts, sort of, and they overwintered. So these are kind of on the end of the bed. I was thinking if they end up not producing anything and grow over the winter and survive like the ones that I grew several years ago, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, then they're at the end of the bed and I don't have to cover this section with a tarp, and they can just keep growing, and maybe we'll get Brussels sprouts next spring. I don't know, because I'm not good at growing brassicas yet. I will one day be good at growing brassicas, but these are actually ones that I saved the seeds from, those plants that overwintered. They went to seed, and the bees and other pollinators loved the flowers and they smelled great, and I saved the seeds from those, and that is the Brussels sprout that I'm planting. So the variety is unknown Brussels sprout. These pepper plants that I just bought and stuck in, however, do have a variety. They are California Wonder, just like the ones that I started from seed. Now the next row over, I have, I think, Provider bush bean. I'll have to look that up. Growing all the way down. The germination is kind of spotty still, but some of them have been popping up. And most of my tomato starts that I planted died. I'm not surprised, but a little funny. I'll show you over here. The ones that I didn't plant because they were smaller than the other ones, they're still alive over here. What in the world? But I put them over here in the ground, and we had a torrential downpour for 2 days in a row, and a lot of them did not make it because of the sand splashing up back on them. But I went to the store when I got the pepper plants intentionally trying to find tomato plants. So I got 12 Romas and the 6 pepper plants for $7 something. So they were pretty cheap. They were on clearance because it's the end of the year. They still look pretty good. They had some yellow bottom leaves, but I pulled those off and planted them pretty deep. I've got some marigolds growing on that side. And there's a little zinnia popping up. So hopefully we will get something. This is the one Roma tomato that I planted that is still alive. And then there's one San Marzano still alive. It doesn't look hot, but it's alive. Then there's some holy basil right there, right there, right there. Still so tiny. But you can see we've got varying stages. Like this one just popped up. Happy birthday! And then this one's been up for a while, of the beans. This is one very pitiful looking black Russian tomato. It's one of my favorite tomatoes, and I don't think it's going to survive, but we'll see. What is that? Is that dill? There's some dill. And we've got some sunflowers. These, the mother plant, I suppose, was from that same client, gave me the sunflower, a couple sunflowers. I don't know if it was the same year. I think it was the next year. She gave me some sunflowers, and so I saved the seeds from this. This sunflower was as tall as the house. Like it went above the gutters on the house. A single story. But it was a really tall, big sunflower, and we saved some seeds from it. And so this is labeled the Elijah sunflower because that was the kid that gave it to me. And so, since there's this gap between the cattle panels here, I didn't put a tomato, I put some sunflowers that'll hopefully be really big. And this is, what is this? It is a tummy toe cherry tomato. We've got 2 of those. And then 1 of whatever this is. That is an Aunt Ruby's German green. I tried to grow these before, but the seeds must have been a mistake in the packet because they were yellow when they were ripe instead of green. And I thought it would be super cool to grow a green tomato. I haven't done that successfully yet. This is a cucumber that is also a funny story. So I planted the cucumbers over there in that next row. But when I was putting the seeds away, I apparently dropped some seeds that fell out of the packet. I mean, I know which one it was because I saw that I dropped some seeds. And we picked them up. It was the baby Persian. And we thought we picked them all up and put them back in the packet. And apparently I missed a couple and they fell directly into the seed starting trays that I had laying out there and just left to see if anything popped up or survived that hadn't, grown yet. And lo and behold, I came out the other day and there are 2 baby Persian cucumber plants growing. So I transplanted them where some tomatoes died. Next to that little guy is a very puny looking big pink. Next to a big pink that looks okay. And then this one I think is a great white. Yeah, that's a great white. It's not doing great though. It's another one of my favorite tomatoes. That and the Black Russian are just so good. And unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get any of them this year. I planted 3 of those, but there are no more alive here that I can see. This is the other little baby Persian cucumber plant that popped up. And then down here I have blueberry tomatoes, and there's like, where is it? It's right there. I don't think it's gonna live. It's so puny. It's got half of a leaf. Poor little guy. But on this side there's another flower coming up. So next row, last row of the garden, there is a sunflower coming up here, and there's one over there. I planted a whole row of them, so they don't appear to all be coming up yet. But I've got a pineapple tomato here that may still pull through, but I may not get anything from it. And let me see if I can do this from the other side. Okay, that'll work. I was afraid there'd be too much of a shadow if I came down this side. But all the tags read this way, so. And all along here, I've got different flowers planted along the front of this cattle panel. And underneath the cattle panel are cucumbers. So after that pineapple tomato, then we've got the baby Persians. And they're not all coming up, but there's a couple. I think there was one more, and it must have been eaten by something. But I've also got a nasturtium coming up. And then got tender green. There's one of those. And I don't see any Beet Alpha yet. And the pickle bush, there's one coming up here. Right there, in the middle of an anthill. And it doesn't look like it's doing great, so. The cucumbers are not doing fantastic at the moment, but we'll see. Then I've got hibiscus planted along there. And some more sunflowers, and they look like they're doing pretty awesome. I think these are more Elijah sunflowers. Now here we've got some early straight neck squash. And then none of my, oh no, one of them. One white scallop squash is coming up. Hello, little guy. And then this is the zucchini. Italian striped zucchini right here. And there's another one popping up over there. There should be a lot more of them. This is the crookneck yellow squash. Again, there should be more of those popping up because I planted 6 spots of each of those. And then down here, got a whole bunch of little zinnias going. And these are the okra that I transplanted. And they don't look great, but these are the okra that I planted from seed. I have a feeling they're going to just completely overtake the ones that I transplanted. So that is the garden tour for July 1st, 2024. And now I'm going to pick some garlic. So this is very exciting. What variety is this? This is the Ivan hardneck garlic. I think I need a fork or something to loosen this up. Ah, well, that's kind of disappointing. Yeah, well, I mean, they're ready to pick, so go ahead and pick them anyway. Maybe we'll get some better ones. That one's not too bad. It's better than the other ones. These are all the Amish Rochambeau variety. These are the Ivan. These next ones here are Music and then German Extra Hardy, and they are still more than 50% green. I want at least half of the leaves to be yellowing. So I'm going to skip those and we'll go down. I think the rest are soft neck garlics. That one's pretty nice. This is early Italian. Actually, several of these aren't very yellow yet, so I'm going to leave quite a few of those, but there are a couple that are ready to come out. The early Italian is looking pretty good. But see, a lot of these are very, very green still. Italian that I'm picking today, but there's quite a few plants left. I think I planted the most of these than any variety. one, this is silver white. It looks like it's straight up a flower stalk, but it's not a hardneck variety, so that's kind of weird. So overall, not super impressed with some of these varieties. The early Italian, most of the ones that I pulled were pretty decent size, but there's a lot left growing that aren't quite ready to harvest. And then the silver white, there are quite a few decent sized ones, but honestly, most of them are pretty tiny, and even though I went through a lot of trouble to separate them and plant one clove, I apparently planted multiple cloves in multiple spots, so they all ended up pretty puny, those that were in clumps. So that is an okay garlic harvest, I think. It's only my second year growing garlic, and I still have two kinds of hardneck and the rest of the early Italian softneck to harvest, so I think I'm going to have quite a bit of garlic this year. So thank you for hanging out with me today as I took you on the little garden tour, showed you our new chicken fence, and harvested some of the garlic. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye!